Hello, I'm Dieter Loosemore,
Hi, I'm Rick.
and you're joining Win Some Loosemore 2 Loose Top 100 Part 2, the longest title ever. If you missed the first one, my eldest brother Rick has joined me to go through our top 100 games of all time as of the tail end of 2020. This will constantly change, but this is where we're at right now. I've had to create a separate file for this than my usual list of games because even looking at, I'm going, oh, but really that? And if I play one more thing, maybe it'll switch it out. So I had to take a definitive stance on it. But as of time of recording, this is our top 100. If you missed 100 to 91, follow the link in the eye that should appear on screen. That'll take you to it so you can catch up. But we're going from number 90 to number 81. That's probably it. Rick, what's your number 90?
My number 90 will make you very happy. It is Century Eastern Wonders.
Why will that make me happy? It's number 90.
Why, it's even there.
Okay, fine.
Century, I'm sure, will come up a few times. It's a very simple resource management collection thing, just scoring points by collecting cards. And to do that, you pay in some yellow cubes, some red cubes, some green cubes. Nobody knows what they stand for. Deke claims he does. He's a liar. And then you'll collect a card that enables you to score points. And to do that, you play other cards that enable you to get those cubes in the first place. And so it's a progressive engine builder. It's quite compelling. Eastern Wonders, the sequel, takes that premise and then sets it on a modular board, just sailing around and you're collecting resources from different places. I didn't find it anywhere near as compelling. It's not a secret to say that Century Spice Road would be much higher up my list. I thought Eastern Wonders was fine. The best thing I like about it is that the two of them interact with each other, and with the third one in the series, A New World, which I haven't played and so won't be appearing on my list. I'd like to play it, and I just love the idea of a designer. It's Matsuchi, isn't it? So Matsuchi, he sat down and went, "How can I make 3 games that work together?" And you could play any combination of 2 or 3 to make a version of the game. And I just think that's fantastic and really, really bold. And to set out saying, "I'm going to make 3 good games, and they're all going to work together." So this is the second one of those Eastern Wonders.
My number 90 is a dexterity version of Space Invaders. We've had the dice version. This is a game called Flip Ships, with a very similar theme to Unfolding Skies I spoke about last time. But instead of dice manipulation and really thinking about it, which is one kind of fun, I love that kind of fun, this is a silly flicking game or flipping game where you have cards representing alien ships that are working their way down towards you, same idea, Space Invaders style, but you are flicking your ships, which are tokens, cardboard discs, and if you land on them, that's a hit. And so it's just a silly bit of fun. I really wanted Rick to get this for our other brother. It seems like the kind of thing I think he'd enjoy. But
he's more dexterous than us.
He's far more dexterous than either of us. I just never quite got around to it. I got rid of my copy. I was going to maybe pass it off to him, but I didn't know how he felt about secondhand games. We have no problem with them, but who cares? So Flip Ships is a lot of just silly fun, good production for what it is. It's a Renegade Games game. If you find it, check it out. Flip Ships.
Yeah. Renegade normally very good production-wise. So. Have you come across Tumble Tree? Similar sort of idea. I think you'd like that.
Is this your 89, or are you just asking?
No. This is just a question.
Tumble Tree, no.
No, okay. It's probably more for kids, but similar sort of ideas. Okay, my number 89 is a spotting game. It's probably the best way I can describe it. If you played something like Dobble, which isn't on my list, it's on those categories of trying to spot pairs. Snap would be one of those examples. Jungle Speed, another one of those, which I've just realised I haven't put on my list. This is Set, where you have, I think, 12 cards in a 3x4 grid, and they show icons, and they will either be diamonds, like a like a packing peanut sort of shape,
Yes.
or I think there's circles, ovals or something. I forget anyway. But three different shapes, three different colors. It could be green, red, or purple, and then three different denominations of one, two, or three of those things. And they also might be filled, shaded, or clear. Okay, that you have to spot a set, which I think is three. I haven't played this in a while. A set so that where either everything in each of those categories matches or nothing. So you could have a one, two, and a three in purple, green, and red, and then one is shaded and one is dark and one is clear, and then they're all the same shape. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Have
That's a
you
lot.
played this?
No, I've never heard of it. That's a lot.
Oh my goodness, it's wonderful, and the reason I like it is because it's not like Doggle, which is like, can you see two ghosts? Yeah, there they are. Because I just don't see it that fast. But
Yeah.
to run through that sort of deductive process of, oh great, they all match. Oh no, that's a one, a two, and a two, so that's not right. Or like, oh, there's two twos and that one's a one. Or they're all the same. Oh no, two of them are shaded, so that doesn't work. And trying to find either all of them match or none of them match. It's actually quite hard to find. It's quite an old game. I think probably from the 70s.
I'm making a note of it.
It's absolutely fantastic. I've played it, lots of friends' copies, and yeah, it's one of the few spotting games I'm actually quite good at. You heard me mention Jungle Speed earlier. I do like Jungle Speed. I don't like the scratched hands you get at the end of Jungle Speed when people have clawed at you when they've tried to grab the totem in the middle. But that's my number 89 set.
Oh, yeah. Made a note of that. I'll have to look it up. My number 89 is, I think, the other party game on my list.
Mhm.
In all 100. Do you know what this is going to be?
Boulder Dash?
No, but the newest version of that concept. This is just one.
Ah, yes.
Where similar to Boulder Dash, but this is cooperative in somebody cannot see the word, the clue, and everybody else can, and everybody that can writes a word associated with it, so that going to help the person to guess what that word is. Yeah. But we compare, and any that match, this is the Boulder Dash thing, any that match are eliminated. And so you're only left with the ones that don't match. So similar to the Dixit thing I was talking about last time, you don't want to be too dead on because you're more likely to match. But if you go too obscure, the person looking at it is going to have no idea what's going on. It just works well, and it works for anybody. This is one that I'd got for our mum, and she loves it. She's far more of a party gamer than I will ever be. But just the social interaction that it gives you, nobody feels stupid because of the nature of obscure versus obvious. It's very inclusive. It doesn't matter if you know who gave what word. It's not because it's cooperative. It's just a lovely time together. With, I mean, the game side of it is almost unimportant. The mechanics are great, and I'm sure you're supposed to keep score. But has anyone ever done that? No. You play. What you have. No, we just play until we're done, or set a number and go when we've got 10 of them right, then that's it. But just one, number 89. You've played it, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Spiel last year, wasn't it? Spiel the Shells. Yeah, we gave it as a gift this year as well. I think it's great. Okay, my number 88 is Patchwork, which is very, yeah, exactly.
Very low.
It's very light, very easy. It's much more pop. Oh, right, okay. We don't own it because I've never liked it that much. But it's just one, yeah. But it's just very gentle. You're making a patchwork quilt, and by drafting tiles, there's a little economy thing there with buttons. I don't love it in the way that some people love it, but it's just an easy, lovely, simple, well-themed. Actually, Rosenberg, isn't it? Yeah. From the grandiose of what was it you mentioned just now, Agricola, down to Patchwork is yeah, incredible array of design he's got there. But yeah, great little game, Patchwork. My 88.
Are we going to see his other type of design on your list?
Of course. My former number 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
not on my list at all. Never mind. My number 88 is a game you had twice at the same time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, for me, because I was one of the people that gave it to
Oh,
you.
yes.
This is Camel Up. This is the in my opinion the best type of racing game, because and I think the one you'll mention later is just about in this category. The race is not necessarily the most important thing. This is more of a betting game than a race game, because all you're doing is getting a pyramid to poop out dice and moving these camels along of all different colors. So whichever die comes out, they're all different. They're
camels
matching
who climb
colours.
on top of each other.
Camels that mount one another around the track.
And race.
And if the bottom one moves, all of them, it's not one on top of the other. It could be like 3 or 4 high that move as well. And so you're just betting on, yes, which one's going to win, but the first person to bet correctly gets more points than the person that bet correctly last. Is that right?
Yes.
And
yes,
you're
that's
also
right.
betting who comes last, and then there's legs.
Different legs within the race, and you can bet on that as well.
Sure, and then there's the chance to put down obstacles and things. So just silly fun, which for me, as races go, suits my style. You know, I know a lot of my list will tend towards the slightly more realistic, or I find thinking fun. But if we're going to play a silly fun game, the presentation of this is excellent. And I'm talking about even the old printing. I've not played the new one with the updated art and the plastic pyramid and things. This is the old silly Pegasus cardboard game. It's just a lot of fun for me. Camel Up.
Yeah, really like it. We've actually got the expansion. We've got the old printing
with the crazy camel.
Not with the crazy camel. That was a promo that we've not managed to get a hold of. No, this has got a photographer and some extra dice, and it's just very silly. It takes it to 10 players, which is quite nice as well.
Oh, cool.
But we have played the new new printing. A friend of ours has it. Yeah, and it's got a pop-up scenery on the board, which is totally redundant but wonderful. So I really like that. No, Camel Up's a great game. Where have we got to? 87. My 87 is Castles of Burgundy, the card game. Now, I haven't played Castles of Burgundy or Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. So this is the best example I have of it. I got it in a maths trade at some point. And it's, pretty small, pretty neat. Just small cards, lay them out. And the way cards ape dice is always a bit interesting, isn't it? But it does it very well. And it's less a game and more a puzzle. And it was another one that played really well solo, actually. And I think I played it more solo than I did in a pair, because it really wasn't Cheryl's bag. And I don't think it would be a surprise to many of your viewers to say that Castles of Burgundy is as ugly as sin. And my wife is very driven by shape and color and aesthetic and the way things look. Now, she's a proper gamer, but for her to play anything, it can't look like Castles of Burgundy, because it's just unapologetically terrible. So it didn't last long in the collection, but it's a really good puzzle game. And you'll probably find it for £10. It's a great little purchase.
Yeah, it didn't quite make my list. Well, the card game didn't. But having played the bigger game as well as the card game, I think it does an excellent job at feeling like a big board game in a small card game. They don't know how it does it, but really good. By the time this video is out, I'll have done my review for the bigger game, the Castles of Burgundy. So you'll get to see just how unattractive this game is, but how good mechanically. So good, but it is hideous. My number 87 has a much nicer look to it, and plays best at 1 because it's a solo game. This is a Friedman Fries game called Friday. Which is again sort of a deck builder, but also a shedding game, but also a survival game is the theme. You are Man Friday thematically, helping Robinson survive on the island. And he's an idiot. One of the cards is he pokes himself in the eye with a stick, so you get -1 to your total. It's just a numbers game essentially, but you're just going through a deck of challenges, and you go through it kind of 3 times, and the total that you need for each one gets higher and higher as it gets harder and harder. But if you complete challenges, you get to gain that, and so it becomes a higher value card that might have a special power on it as well.
Yeah.
So you're building your deck up, but if you choose sometimes to fail, sometimes you fail anyway, but if you choose to, it might be worth it, because whenever you fail, you get to get rid of a card. So that's how you get rid of the bad ones. There are minuses, and then every time you go through a deck, there's an aging card because he's taken too long and getting old and tired, and so bad cards come in as well. I think I tried this about 15 times and got to the pirates at the end once. I think I lent it to you, and within about 3 tries, you'd beaten the game.
Bossed it. And I was worried that I'd broken the rules, because I was like, you can't be this stupid. But it turns out you are. You are the Robinson Crusoe. I am the Friday. And my wife bossed it as well. Great little game, Friday. I love that one. Yeah.
Feels so valid.
My 86. Yeah. My 86 is Onitami. Now, I do have to admit, this is the game in my list that I've only played digitally, actually. But I think it's very. So it's a sort of a chess game is probably the best way to describe it. And in fact, I see it on your shelf as well. But you have pieces on the board. There's just pawns and a king, really, though, who they're trying to get to the other side. Is that the main aim of the game? Or to
either
wipe each
get to
other
the
out?
other side or take the king.
Fine, either way then. But you draft cards that tell you how you can move. And it's just a really tough decision every time of going, well, if I do that, this means I could do that next time. But what if they move there? And just unbelievably simple to teach. Not in simple design. I don't know who designed it, but a very, very clever person, certainly. But the notion of just pick up a card and choose an action, wow, incredible. And there's so many rich, deep choices on there. It's probably not higher on my list because I haven't played it with a person, and I'd love to really test my mettle, or because you start to learn how a computer thinks, and as much as you start to learn how your opponent thinks. Well, for one, you can never second guess my wife. She'll happily throw herself on the sword. But yeah, I think I'd love to play it with the tactility of the pieces too.
Yeah, and it's a game you never play once.
Absolutely.
Every time I've sat down to play it, we do at least 3-5 games maybe, because they can be 5 minutes long, or you could be sat there for one game for like 15 minutes, really kind of edging each other. It's great.
Yeah.
My number 86, one of the many games that I have owned and don't. I know you were talking about, Rick, recently. You're making a list of games that you love but won't own.
Yeah.
This is a game that it didn't hurt me because it's just a game, but I felt when I got rid of. I don't think I'll ever get it again, but I love it. This is Zularetto.
It's
so
we might talk
charming.
about this later in this list.
Good. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We'll hold on to that one. Yeah,
okay.
It's our first crossover.
All right, then. I'll save it. Okay, Zularetto, lovely game about a zoo. We'll hear about it in a minute. That's my number 86.
Yeah, my number 85 is a game called Citadels, which is a social deduction game with butterscotch pieces. No one quite sure if they stand for money or points. I won't talk too much about it. It's a very popular game. But it's I quite liked the original. I liked it more when they did what I call Sushi Go Party version of it, when they threw in just loads of characters you could mix and match, and there's loads more to it. I think Bosley did the art. Was it he did that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, Andrew Bosley did the art on that one. Obviously made it much more beautiful than the original, which was very Euro looking, I think is probably the generous way of saying it. But yeah, it's a social deduction game, which isn't really my bag so much. But this one seemed to capture the attention more than others, and that's Citadels, my number
I
85.
I despise it.
Yeah, I
I
know.
hate this game so much. It doesn't matter how many times I play it, because one of the guys at our group brings it, and it doesn't matter how many times I play it. I get it. I know what you're supposed to do. I just get shafted every single time. It doesn't matter which one I choose, and I go, okay, they played like that. Okay, if you take the king, you get to do this thing. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Nope, I killed the king. What? What do you mean you killed the? How did you know? Oh, it makes me angry. Makes me angry.
Yeah.
I might make you angry, but for the same reasons as one of the ones on the last list, number 85 for me is viticulture.
Well, you're wrong.
I know I am, and that's why it's on the
Yeah.
list, because I know I'm wrong. And it's higher than Terraforming Mars was because I played it twice. I taught myself
a numbers game.
Yeah. Well, for the reasons of familiarity and affection. I taught myself the solo game, which is always 2 levels of learning. Teaching yourself a game and what the extra rules are for solo is always an extra bounce. I think I was left alone in your house, and I decided to just pull it off the shelf. It is good. And you then subsequently taught me the full game. It is good. I get it. I get how the theme works for it. I get how all the pieces work together. I played the Essential Edition, which is the only edition that exists now. And having done that and having heard what the original version was, I would never want to play without the Tuscany stuff. Even in Essential, it's optional, isn't it?
Tuscany is an expansion.
Oh, sure, but does it come in Essential?
Oh, I see. The Mamas and Puppets stuff is and
the extra spaces.
Yes. No. So
that's just the new version.
What happened was originally you had Viticulture, which was a Kickstarter game, and the first one from the designer Jamie Stegmaier, and as you can imagine, just needed some tweaks. And then they brought out the expansion Tuscany, and there was just loads of stuff. Kickstarter's problem is always like, hey, more stuff. People just need more stuff. No, they don't. They need a game that works. And we don't need to plant tomatoes in our blooming vineyards. What is that about? Why do we need an animal module? Anyway, so what they did then, they stripped out a lot of the bump from the basic version and made Viticulture Essential Edition. And then they took some, I think it was just one thing, can't remember, called the Mamas and Papas thing. It's like variable starting powers out of Tuscany, and put that then in the Viticulture Essential Edition. I think Uwe Rosenberg actually assisted with that that shift. He certainly did some work on one of the expansions later. Then they produced Tuscany Essential Edition, which was some of and streamlined versions of what was Tuscany that they hadn't been put in Viticulture Edition. What you would say now broadly is, yes, of course, get Viticulture Essential Edition, but also do get Tuscany, because it just blows the game up to
it was a different board, wasn't it, with more action spaces?
Yes.
So that's what you board, then taught me.
Yeah, which is maybe a push too far, but
no. I would now not play it. Well, I would, but I would choose to play it because you've got the little stars on the map, and you've got different. There's now action spaces in all of the seasons, not just 2 of them. It felt a fuller experience.
Which is the only way I teach it now, anyway. But so I'm pleased to hear that, because it makes so much more sense. Okay, right. So in spring you do this, summer you do this, autumn you do this, winter you do this, as opposed to, right, what are you going to do in summer, winter, and when are you going to wake up in spring? It still works. It's still very good. And I can totally understand why it wouldn't be as high on people's list, because it is fine. I think you can play it and go, yeah, that's fine. It works. I just, it will turn up higher on my list, just because I play it and go, I really like this. And sometimes you can't quantify for that, can you?
No, and I think the 2 reasons that keep it down here are worker placement, which I talked about last time. I've just played loads of them, I've got loads of them, and it's just a saturated mechanism for me. But also because of the amount of cards in the game, it probably benefits replays to go, what kinds of things might come up? How do I plan effectively to do that? Whereas I did okay. I didn't fluke the win. I nearly fluked the win, but I couldn't do one last contract. But again, the swing of the game was you'd surged ahead, and then right at the last minute, I got to do loads of stuff because I hadn't planned for it. And so I think, again, this is one I would get more familiar, and they're my favorite publisher. He's one of my favorite designers. I would like this game. It's just one full game, and then me figuring out everything I did wrong in a solo game that doesn't warrant it being any bigger than this for now. But we'll hear about it again. That's Viticulture, my number 85.
Yeah. My 84 is a 2-player only deck builder called Star Realms. And specifically, Star Realms Colony Wars, there's just 2 decks. They're slightly different, but you could play either one. I think you could put them both together and play a 4-player. I don't know why you would. It's an interesting one because you both start with 50 hit points, and you have a fleet of ships. Now, classic deck builder, you start with 10 cards and a hand of 5. I think you have 7 monies at the beginning, 7 cards that are 1 money,
8
and 3 that are 8 and 2, and then 8-2 then that are attack, which isn't very strong. So you could just keep knocking each other down for 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, but you'd be there for 25 rounds. Well, no, 50 rounds because you only get 5 cards at a time. So instead, you spend money to upgrade your arsenal to knock out the other person, and maybe your defense to make yourself a bit stronger. And then there's 4 different factions which interact with themselves. I always lose track at that point about which card I should have in my deck and which one should I recruit. I don't know, but the blob seems powerful. It's fine. It's fun. I don't think we've played it in ages, to be honest, but it's a nice. Deck builders are always compelling, aren't they? You always go, I could have just got. If that card had come out, I would have done slightly better. So that's nice. There is a slight feeling of being on rails because you're like, well, I have to buy better stuff to be able to do the other thing anyway. So, and there's only 5 cards to choose from that I might buy. So it does have its limitations, but it's nice and competitive. It's nice and combative, and it's quite compelling. Star Realms 84.
Choice. Staying in space, my number 84 is Among the Stars. This isn't deck building, this is drafting, where you're passing hands of cards around, choosing one of them, which, a few of these games will show up on my list. It's a mechanic I really love. And what this one adds is a spatial aspect, again, something I seem to enjoy, where you're building a space station. That's what you're doing. And so you're basically passing around rooms or bits of the station to go on, and they need to be powered, or they are an engine room which makes power, or they're guns or something which protect you from other things. And so you're building a kind of a top-down cross-section, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like if you'd cut the ship in half, that's your view of it. And so you're just building it up. I think it's over 4 rounds, and it's just points at the end. It's nice and simple. It led to a follow-up game, and what I didn't clarify actually in the first video, which I meant to, was what we've done in terms of families of games. So for me, the Century games are different enough that I'll give them different things. Other games are just re-implementations of the same thing, so they'll be the same entry. We've had a bit of discussion. So Among the Stars, I am putting on its own. Its later sister version we'll talk about maybe another time if it comes up. But my number 84 for now is Among the Stars.
Yeah, I also almost certainly we will talk about the sister version, but I actually took the opposite view in that I think it's similar enough, and there are some differences, but you could choose one or the other. But I certainly would choose the other. I did like Among the Stars; it just was a bit limited for me. But,
nice basic game.
Yeah, and not really my theme again, as we've said before. I'm not
generic space.
No, don't like generic space. Don't really like fantasy for itself. Anyway, my 83 is Bang, the dice game.
Nice.
And again, having said earlier that I don't, I think it was the last video, I don't really care for social deduction. This is another one that takes that social deduction element. In fact, I said it earlier, didn't I? Takes that social deduction element and then just elevates it by shooting at each other. So it's not just about, oh, are you the sheriff? Are you the outlaw? Okay, but do I want to kill you? Which is a whole different game. And I've never played Bang the card game. Have you? The original? No. The dice game seems to be all there is really, because you have the great joy of chucking some dice and going, how much can I kill you this time? Ah, not enough. Oh, I've been killed instead. Now, there are lots of things about this type of game that I don't care for. Social deduction, uh, player elimination, dice chucking to some extent, but it's short and it's funny and it's fun and it just works. It just works with so many different types of people. And in fact, do you own this?
No.
No, neither of us own this. Our non-gamery brother owns this because it works for everyone. And yeah, and so it's short, and so you don't mind if you get eliminated. It's chaotic, so you don't mind if you get killed because you didn't roll the right dice, because you just play again in a bit. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? That Bang the Dice game, 83.
It's so good. And I love that health is beer. Great choice.
It is.
It is. I'm going to take it quite a shift from the big fun of Bang the Dice game to Paperback, which is another deck building game, but just making words, making letters. The theme kind of isn't there. But again, I like twists on things, takes that deck building aspect, but it puts it into a word game. You don't need to have a large vocabulary. You can just spell the same word every single round if you get the letters for it. That doesn't matter. But the points you get from the size of the word allows you to buy new stuff. So it takes kind of the familiar mechanisms, the really well-known and simple ideas, but puts it into a world for people that like word games. I don't particularly like word games, but I do like deck building. And so it actually drew word games into a game I enjoy for me. So it's a nice balance. I don't know if you played it, have you?
No, I'd like to, but again, I don't think my wife would enjoy it.
No. But it's a good one, Paperback.
Yeah. My 82 is a game I really, really didn't enjoy when I first played it and has grown on me, which is Splendor. Initially, I just saw the set collecting version of it. And again, this is early days into the hobby. And I thought, it's set collecting, so it's Ticket to Ride, but without the trains, which are the fun bit. I do like trains. So I thought, oh, this is a bit rubbish. Then actually having played waiting at games, Terraforming Mars, Century to some extent, this sort of engine building thing, I came back and played it at a friend's house and went, oh, I missed the point. It's about, you get that, great, but you then get that, so you get better at getting that thing. And so I hadn't had an appreciation for engine building. I still don't think it's brilliant. And like, I mean, it's 82 on my list. I don't think it's bad in any way, but it's not Terraform Mars, it's not Century, but it's a lot better than I thought it was. And another one that's quite short but quite compelling and lovely, lovely pieces, the poker chips.
Exactly what I was about to say. Weighted chips. Love it. The other end of the spectrum in terms of components are okay, but the gameplay was really nice, was Space Base, my number 82, where you're just chucking dice and everybody gets to use them. It's good. You've got ships that are your active ones and ones you've retired. And so if you're the person rolling the dice, you're using those numbers to trigger your active ships. But if somebody else has rolled them, you're using those numbers to trigger your retired ships. You only start with a couple, and as you purchase new ones from generating money and points and things, they then get tucked in. So your off-turn rewards get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the cards that you're buying get better and better and better. And it's just a race to however many points, I can't remember how many, 30 maybe. But it came at a bad time into my collection. It came right as lockdown started, and it's a game that requires lots of players for it to be its most fun. So I can see the potential of it, but I moved it on because it just wasn't the time for it. But it's a good one. I think you'd enjoy it if we got to play with about 4 or 5 people. Space Base.
And my 81, you probably can guess because I hadn't mentioned it after promising that I would, is Zularetto. Go on, you can talk about it.
It's animal drafting, which is great fun. But from a bag of tiles, you lay out 3 trucks of animals that are being imported into zoos, and you either add an animal to a truck or take a truck. But once you've taken a truck, you're done for the round. And you've got different pens in your zoo to put them together. If you put male and female of an animal at the end of the round, they breed.
We know what happens.
Right, because they just can't control themselves, and
No.
immediately a fully formed child exists. That's what I learned in school. So this just goes on. You can make your thing, make your zoo bigger, and at the end you score for kind of the groups of animals. Do they score differently? It's been a while. I don't remember.
I can't remember. It's been a while, yeah.
But a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a real sort of or when do I go for it? When do I go for it? Oh, they've taken the truck and I should have gone for it. It has to be said, this has aged very badly. The pieces are not very nice
visually.
It's never quite made my collection, but I love playing it. It's really cute. It's brilliant, lovely game.
My number 81 is a civilization-themed game. This is called Peloponnese, a tile. You're doing bidding rather than just straight drafting, and you're always going to end up with something. You can just not get something to get money to use next round, and then every round all your tiles trigger, but there are either land types, which give you resource types to pay for things, or city, I can't remember, city tiles, which give you abilities and income for various things at different points. But the kind of crux of this game are these disasters that will happen every game, but when they happen and how they will impact your strategy and what you're doing, it's just a nice thing. I've played this a lot solo, and they've got a nice scaling thing in there. I've played it two-player a couple of times, but I think because it's a bidding mechanism, which I don't usually like, but this one works. I think I'm looking forward to being able to play it with more people, so that you get much more of that interaction of how the bidding works. But it's a good one. That's Peloponnese. That was my number 81 and the last game for this list. Thank you, Rick, for joining me. We'll be back for the next installment, 80 to 71. But in the meantime, do subscribe to this channel if you don't already, and hit the bell icon so you stay updated when I put out new things. And you can find me on social media by searching Win Some, Lose More. You'll find me on all the usual platforms. I look forward to you joining us next time. I've been Dieter for Win Some, Lose More. He's Rick. I'll see you again. Bye.